Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, December 12th, and welcome to 7investing Live. This is our live stream interactive event we'll be hosting every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern to focus on several of the stock market's most intriguing opportunities. My name is Simon Erickson. I'm founder and CEO of 7investing. We've started in March 2020 to empower individual investors. We want to go out there and find stock market opportunities and talk about them on this show. Hence, 7investing Live. This is now our second show. We just got started on Wednesday, already really enjoying these, looking forward to them really kicking off here in 2026 as we do kind of a soft launch here before the 12 days of Christmas here in December. So today we're going to be talking about gambling. We're going to be talking about sports gambling. I had to take advantage of this to promote my beloved New Orleans Saints, who are 3-10 right now. But bigger picture, there's a lot of online sports gambling that's going on right now. And we're going to talk about this trend because it's changing in a lot of ways, from the way that we are doing it today to the way we might be doing it tomorrow. And we're going to be looking at DraftKings as one opportunity in this space. We'll discuss that in just a minute, but perhaps it's best to start at the top here and talk about Las Vegas. If you haven't been to Las Vegas and seen the Las Vegas Strip yet, you really got to go. It's something else. It's one of those American cultural phenomenons right there. You've got these giant casinos, these giant hotels to support them. There's the Bellagio fountain, which is world famous out there right now. It's beautiful. It's amazing, right? It should surprise no one that those hotels and casinos are not free to build. They cost a lot of money, actually. And the reason that have got such an impressive Las Vegas Strip is because you're always playing against the house, and the house always wins. What does that mean? Well, of course, you can walk away with Vegas with more money in your pocket than you went there with. Most people don't, but you can. But the house has always got favorable odds against you. In fact, there's only one bet in all of the state of Nevada that you actually have got even odds against the house, and that is on the craps table. But for the most part, if you're betting in any game, any kind of poker game, any kind of sports betting at the sports book that you've got there, anything you've got, you're not getting quite even odds with the house. If it's a 50-50 coin flip, you're probably getting odds that are going to pay out 49% of the time as though you'd be winning. And because of this, Vegas, of course, and all those casinos are able to capture from huge amounts of volume that is gambled there over long periods of time, a huge profit stream, and build these beautiful casinos in the Bellagio Casino. And so Vegas, for the long time, for decades, was kind of the place that you would go if you wanted to, scratch the itch of gambling, of gaming, anything like that. You'd go to Vegas in person. But in recent years, we've seen a new phenomenon where you could actually move a lot of gaming and gambling and even online sports betting into mobile applications, right? Something on your smartphone. You can now get into these apps that you could actually do a lot of the same kind of gambling things. One of the largest has been online sports betting, where you could actually go and you could bet on sporting events. You could bet on how badly the New Orleans Saints are going to lose their next game, right? And so there were kind of two platforms that rose up to become the leaders of online sports gambling. And those two companies were FanDuel and DraftKings. And those apps kind of, reap the lion's share of profits from this. This is a heavy regulated business. You've got to do a lot of marketing. They've got to make sure that they've got capital enough to pay out for the winners, because you're still in these instances betting against the house. And it was similar to the Vegas scenario, right? The reason that they were capturing so many profits and reporting so many earnings for their investors each and every quarter was because of, they still had favorable odds. Even in the 50-50 scenarios or whatever you were betting on, you were still mostly betting against these large players. And so the rise of prediction markets, at its core, the reason that we even are looking at this now is there were players out there that said, this is unhealthy for you. This is unhealthy for you to have, not even odds. You're not even playing against other players. You're playing against the house. The house is always winning. This is just unhealthy. You need to have something that is a little bit healthier for you to be gambling against. You need to have a vegan-friendly Kalshi cereal that's going to improve your health in the gambling community, right? And so Kalshi was one of the players that rose up to become a prediction market. This is very different than what DraftKings or FanDuel was doing, because now all of a sudden, you're not betting against the house. You're betting peer-to-peer against other players in real-time markets that are being produced. And so a shout out to Heather Horton, our producer of the show here, who's now pulled up the Kalshi site, right? You can see if we scroll down on this, you can bet on almost anything out there. Who's going to be the next U.S. presidential election winner? Who's going to be the pro football champion? Is, Trump going to release things, that are political out there? The Stanley Cup champion, the S&P close price. How many gold cards will Trump issue this year? These are literally bets you can place real money on and get payouts on them as well. And you can kind of see the pool that is going into each one of these, the handle for each one of these bets. You can see the odds of each one of them happening. A lot of these influence the payouts that are coming from them. And so Kalshi, as well as Polymarket, for those who are familiar with that company as well, have created these prediction markets. And these are very different and also regulated very differently than a company like DraftKings or any casino that's regulated on the Las Vegas Strip, right? So there you go. There's Polymarket, another one of these large polymarkets or prediction markets. You can see right there, you can bet just yes or no for a variety of different things, right? And you can search at the top very quickly what you want to search for. If we go up to Polymarket, we go into the search bar, we put in sports just to have something fun. If you want to go out and make a sports bet, now all of a sudden, boom, here's all the different things, 1,900 different bets you can make right now related to sports. No plane ticket to Vegas required, no registration required for a sports app, and you're not betting against the house, you're betting against other players. And so these polymarkets, oh, there we go. It looks like the Rams, based on what we're clicking on right here, are the favorite to win the NFL Super Bowl this year. Seattle Seahawks number 2, Buffalo Bills number 3, Green Bay Packers number 4. Okay, very interesting. And so not only are these fun to make wagers, and for those who want to make wagers can place bets and financially benefit from them, but they're also kind of interesting because you're able to get real-time information about markets out there. We just saw that the Rams are the favorite to win the NFL Super Bowl right now, right? It's kind of like there's information being shared, and you can kind of see the consensus of where people stand on a variety of different topics. And we say sports betting because this is one of the topics that has had a lot of money being used in Vegas casinos or in FanDuel or in DraftKings to bet on NFL football games, right? This has been one of the most popular bets that's being made in online gaming right now. And so that was a natural fit for prediction markets, but you can see just all of the different topics that are out there. There is no shortage of things that you can wager on right now. And so that's the introduction of what polymarkets are, what prediction markets are. These are regulated by the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. That is very different than the state-by-state regulations that you used to have before. And as such, you could actually go onto Polymarket or go onto Kalshi like we just did on those websites, sign up, create a profile, and fund it, and immediately start placing bets. And that has not been the case for online sports gambling. It used to be you had to be, first of all, in a state that was allowing sports gambling. And then also you would have to pay a very good portion of your winnings to that state as a tax on gambling, on online gambling. Just like Vegas was, taxing the casinos that were there in person. If you were in a state that actually allowed the app to be used, which Texas does not, but certain states, where it was available, you'd have to pay a good portion of your winnings to the state as a tax, as a gambling tax. We're rapidly rising, by the way. And so now all of a sudden we've got a way to bypass all of that, right? Polymarkets, prediction markets, you don't have any of those same previous regulations. You've now got a federal department that is regulating a financial product, at the centralized level, no longer state by state. And of course, Vegas hates this. New York hates this. A lot of different states that were collecting a lot of gaming revenues from those tax dollars before, you can kind of see are fighting the rise of prediction markets and the regulations that are going to govern them. But that's the kind of the bigger picture of what's going on. I do want to talk about one company in particular, which is DraftKings. I want to chat about this. In fact, I'm going to go live and look at the 7investing site to show that we've done a little bit of research into this here recently. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're pulling it up right now. We're going to go onto the 7investing site. And again, a reminder that if you go to 7investing.com, you want to look at any one of your favorite tickers, you can just go into 7investing.com and type in the ticker. DraftKings is DKNG. So I'm going to put that into my search bar here at the top. It's going to pull me right to the DraftKings landing page that we have on 7investing. Oh, it's not going to work right now. Of course, when you do a live demo, you run into issues like this sometimes. And my apologies. There it goes. Second time's the charm, right? But we've got DraftKings. You pull it up there. You can see I've got this listed as a Best Buy, and we're going to dig into that in a minute. But you would think at first glance that DraftKings is threatened by prediction markets, right? It was making so much money off of online sports gambling that was going straight through the sports book of its app. In fact, it and FanDuel together had more than 80% market share of online sports gambling. It just was very hard for a newcomer to come in, to do all the marketing to convince people to even join it in the first place, to then go through all the regulatory hoops and the legal things that were required and the overhead to actually get out there. And so a company like DraftKings was benefiting from an oligopoly that was being the global sports book online. And we noted in recent months, as I scroll a little bit down on the landing page here, look at what Kalshi has seen in 2025 in terms of the amount of money being traded on its platform. You go back to 2024, we had a presidential election. There was a lot of speculation and a lot of money trading hands on who they thought was going to win the presidential election in 2024. And then look what has even surpassed that even further 1 year later, the sports markets. You can see right there, NFL football season begins, and all of a sudden you've got over $800 million within the first month being traded weekly on NFL sports betting. Sports markets took Kalshi by surprise. The same thing with Polymarket. You just saw the demonstration that we had where you could bet on anything and everything on these new platforms. And the idea was going to be that this was going to be really bad for DraftKings, right? I'll stop sharing my screen here and we'll pull up what they responded to. In fact, Heather, if you can pull up what we saw from DraftKings in the response to this, they said, you know what, actually, this is a good idea. Now that this is actually being allowed at the federal level and it is being regulated at the federal level by the CFTC, why don't we have a DraftKings prediction market? What a great idea. In fact, they went out, they made an acquisition of a company that was going to actually enhance their capabilities for prediction markets. And now DraftKings Predictions is actually being built right now, being built and scaled up at this moment. And it's going to have the same kind of interface like you saw there with Kalshi, that you saw there with Polymarket. And all of a sudden, DraftKings is not just going to be available in the certain states where it was previously state regulated before. It's now going to be available for everyone. And I think this is very good for DraftKings as a company. Originally, I would think this to be a threat, where you say, okay, we're going to lose some market share, certainly in the states where we're participating, people are going to be interested in Polymarkets instead of what we've got. I don't think that is the case. In fact, DraftKings just reported its third quarter results and didn't actually show a whole lot of churn in their existing customers. In fact, they had a 4% revenue growth, 4% year over year in terms of absolute dollars, and a 2% increase in monthly unique payers. Now, that is slower. This is a more competitive market than it was before, but you didn't see that churn where the existing gamblers who were using DraftKings app before didn't leave to go to Polymarket instead. They're making the same bets. It's switching costs, right? It's a stickiness of something you're already doing. You want to stick with something you've already got. You've already got your process, your behavior of using that app rather than going and doing something else. I think instead, more likely, this is going to be an incremental benefit to DraftKings of expanding into new markets, to expanding its total addressable market into the places that it wasn't before. And is the competition going to be more intense there? Yes. It's no longer going to benefit from an 80% market share that it shared with FanDuel out there. You're going to be seeing a lot more DraftKings commercials at halftime of the NFL games that you're watching. It's going to be expensive to try to get people into DraftKings predictions. But I also think in terms of the benefit for the company, in terms of the dollars that are going into the earnings that are reported every single quarter on an absolute basis, this is actually going to be really, really good for the business as a whole. And so I'm going to be keeping an eye on not only the number of monthly unique payers that they've got on the existing platform, monthly unique payers that are playing, if we want to look at it in that terms, but also, is this going to be expanding the market? How is DraftKings Predictions going to be doing? And is this going to be an interesting evolution of the company's existing platform? And so we did just see in the third quarter results here, DraftKings has got a lot of enthusiasm and optimism about its own company. This is a company that's not even that old, that has now just increased its stock buyback authorization from $1 billion to $2 billion. Great in cash flows. I'm going to pull up another graphic here. If you can bear with me as I share my screen once more, we're going to look through Y charts at kind of how DraftKings, the stock, has behaved. Hopefully you're able to see that on my screen. Look at the steady rise in revenue over the last 5 years. We're now up to $5.5 billion over the trailing 12 months. And of that, they've captured about 10% of that, call it $530 million per year of free cash flow. Now, they're going to be spending, like we said, on advertising. The marketing expenses are going to go higher. Perhaps the margins are going to get a little bit compressed here because it's a more complex and competitive market. But I think in terms of the absolute dollars that are falling to the bottom line, that free cash flow margin, in terms of absolute dollars, is going to be going up because you're just expanding this so quickly out there. And for a stock that right now we're paying 33 times trailing free cash flow, I think that that's a pretty reasonable multiple to pay for valuation for a company like DraftKings, who has everything to win in this shift as the market evolves. So there's the pitch. There's the stock in focus today. Again, DraftKings DKNG. If you want to follow along with that, we've got 7investing.com/DKNG. If you want to see our landing page and all the research that we've got on DraftKings, you did see a sneak peek there at the top. Behind the paywall is typically where we keep our conviction ratings. You got to see that it's a best buy right now. If you want to see all of the reasons why, I'd encourage you to check out 7investing's membership, 7investing.com/subscribe. You get to see our monthly best buys every single month. We've got 5 of them that are force ranked from number 1 all the way to number 5. There it is, 7investing.com/subscribe. You can see why we're so excited about DraftKings right now, and actually the other 4 best buy recommendations as well. You can also see our official recommendation that we had here in December, not a best buy, but the official one that we're adding to the scorecard. It's a software company that's extremely undervalued in my opinion. So again, we're kind of in a soft launch phase here. I'm going to open this up for questions at the moment. If anyone does have a question, please submit it on our YouTube page, either here on Riverside if you'd like to our Twitter page. We want these to be interactive. Again, I know they're kind of small here because we haven't officially launched until January, but DraftKings is the one that we're going to be going with as a stock in focus that I think is a really good opportunity right now as prediction markets continue to evolve and this industry continues to take shape. Heather, go ahead. It looks like you do have a question about this space. I would love to answer any questions you have.
I sure do have a question. So on DraftKings, it said that it was only their prediction markets would only be available in states where DraftKings wasn't allowed. Is that because they make more money from their traditional system versus the prediction market?
100%. You do not want to cannibalize your own business, right? And so DraftKings is getting a really, really nice take rate, about 10% of any of the pool that is wagered on its existing sports book app, right? So if you're in Vegas and you're using DraftKings app, they want to keep you in the app because they're making more money when you're betting against the house. They're not going to say that in the PR. They're not going to say that on the press release. But every time that DraftKings is reporting revenues and earnings, keep in mind that's because it's beating you. It is winning against its players in a way that it's allowing it to capture a pretty good earnings per share. And so this new one with prediction markets is going to be different. It's going to be more like a financial exchange, like a Fidelity or a Schwab, which is capturing kind of the bid-ask spread between all of the wagering that's going on through that. You're not playing against the house, you're playing against other players. The odds are true, they're real, they're absolute. And again, you're not going to get exactly 100% payout. The platform itself is still going to make its cut, but it's going to be based more upon volumes and the spreads, much like you've seen with traditional exchanges. So great question. DraftKings doesn't want to shoot itself in the foot or kill its golden goose, so to speak. But I do think that that's going to evolve in the next couple of years too. It's probably going to have to start offering prediction markets in its core markets, just not here in the very first phase as it rolls this out. Heather, have you ever been to Vegas? Have you ever seen the Vegas Strip or the Bellagio casino and that fountain out front?
I haven't. I need to go, but never have made it. Not much of a gambler, but
quite amazing. It's interesting because you used to see every couple of years they'd put up a new bigger casino that'd be out there, and they build them larger and larger. And I just wonder if that's going to be what the future of Vegas looks like anymore, as we're kind of seeing the evolution of the gambling industry.
Yeah, it's beautiful and massive, and I do want to get out there, but
well, you can always check out Kalshi. It's a little bit less impressive looking at a website than it is the Bellagio fountain, but we are seeing kind of an evolution of this entire industry. And I think we'll wrap it up with that. Thanks again for everybody who's attending our live stream event here against 7 Investing Live. You can always follow along. Heather, what's the easiest way to visit this site? Is there a link we can put up right here for our YouTube? There it is. If you want to 7 Investing, but we've also got a YouTube account that we've got people following along.
Oh, of course. That would be, let's make sure I got it right. YouTube at 7investing /live. So
Yep.
youtube.com/@7investing/live.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's easy to remember. Always check that out. That's typically kind of home base for where we broadcast, but we also send it out there to Twitter and X and a couple other different places. Thanks again, Heather. Thanks again for making this show possible. I'm really enjoying these. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And we're going to be talking on Monday about a new topic. We're going to be talking about consumer spending. Consumer spending is a huge topic. We can talk about retail. We can talk about restaurants. We can talk about everything. But I think I'm going to talk about retailers first. And we're going to look at, what's going on with this consumer discretionary funk that we're kind of in right now. Kind of perfectly appropriate right before Christmas, right? Let's go out there and do some holiday shopping and talk about retail companies. But I think I'd like to talk about Crocs on Monday as the stocks of focus. We're going to be talking about consumer spending, how certain retailers certainly appear to be very undervalued in the market right now. And we'll look at Crocs, CROX, as the stock of focus for Monday's show. So my goodness, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in 7 Investing Live. I hope that you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you again on Monday as we talk about consumer spending. Be safe out there. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.